So good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, yes. I am State Senator Camera Bartolotta. I represent a little bit of Beaver County, Greene County, and all of Washington County, including Charleroi, and to which this event is pretty much dedicated to all of the first responders who were there. I just want to say thank you to all of our honored guests for being here today. And we are very glad to host and MC this recognition ceremony today. I'd like to thank my friend and colleague, Senator Devlin Robinson, and his team for helping to organize this event with my team. Senator Robinson has been a strong advocate for our first responders and a true champion for the development of the Western PA Urban Search and Rescue Team. Can we please give a hand to Senator Robinson for his efforts? Today, along with my colleagues from the Senate and House of Representatives, whose districts include some of the emergency departments invited here, will recognize nearly 40 stations, organizations, and companies that contributed to an extraordinary emergency response this summer. On the evening of August 28th, many of you in this room were dispatched to a trench collapse in the 800 block of McCain Avenue in Charleroi. 14 to 15 feet deep below the surface was Vincenzo Lopez, a worker trapped chest deep in soil. 3 Charleroi Borough firefighters bravely jumped into the hole to assess the situation after responding to the rescue call. Due to an incredibly coordinated and professional effort by all involved, at approximately 1:30 a.m., Vincenzo was safely rescued, walking up the ladder on his own and transported to AHN in good spirits. Vincenzo is here today to personally join in thanking each of you for the incredible teamwork and dedication that saved his life. Can we please give a round of applause for Vincenzo? I want to take a moment to recognize Chief Robert Whiten Jr. of the Charleroi Fire Department. Chief Whiten's leadership that evening was pivotal in coordinating local operations and ensuring a safe, efficient, and ultimately successful rescue effort. I sincerely thank you, Chief. Also, a heartfelt thanks to our hosts today, Task Force Leader Brian Kokkila and the Pennsylvania Urban Search and Rescue Strike Team 1. Brian and his team provided critical technical support during the rescue and have been instrumental in advancing Southwestern Pennsylvania's emergency response capabilities. The USAR team was made possible by legislation passed by Representatives Dan Miller and Representative Natalie Mihalek, who played key roles in passing the legislation that formally established the USAR team. Their work ensured that when incidents like this happen, trained personnel and specialized equipment are available to support local departments when it matters most. Without this team located in southwestern Pennsylvania, we would have to rely on one in Philadelphia. Imagine the hours it would take to get them here. We are very grateful that we have this team in our Southwest region. We are gathered today to recognize the efforts of all of you that fateful evening. Each one of you and your teams played a vital role, and together you demonstrated what can happen when preparation, trust, and teamwork come together in the face of crisis. This ceremony is our way of saying thank you for your dedication, your preparation, and your willingness to step forward when every second counts. On behalf of all of us in the General Assembly, thank you. Thank you for your service and your example of what it means to serve. With that, it is my honor to begin today's program by acknowledging each department and organization being recognized for their incredible work that day. Please, if you could just hold your applause until the end. It's a long list. Stick with me. Allegheny County Division of 911 Communications. Jefferson Hills Fire Rescue Station 180. PA Urban Search and Rescue Strike Team 1. Bell Vernon VFC Station 4. Fayette County Emergency Management 911 Operations. Fayette County Hazardous Materials Response Team 900. Bentleyville VFD Station 11. Carroll Township VFD Station 63. Charleroi Fire Department Station 33. Fallowfield Township VFC Station 47. North Charleroi Lock 4 VFC Station 22. North Strabane Township Fire Department Station 48. Peters Township Fire Department Station 64. Stockdale VFD Station 17. Washington County 911 Dispatch Center. Washington County Hazardous Materials Response Team 92. Greensburg VFD Hose Company 7 Station 79. Crabtree VFD Station 34. Forbes Road VFD Station 90. Lyledsville VFD Station 114. Monessen Fire Department Downtown Station 81-1. New Alexandria VFD Station 77. Hang in there. North Bell Vernon Fire Department Station 80. Sutersville VFD Station 11. Westmoreland County 911 Emergency Communications. Westmoreland County Trench and Collapse Rescue Team 148. Allegheny Health Network. Fayette EMS. Murraysville Medic 1. Ross Draver West Newton Emergency Service Station 500. Sewickley Township Community Ambulance Service Company 521. The Authority of Borough of Charleroi Water. Borough of Charleroi Public Works. Bujanowski Towing. City of Monessen Public Works. Charleroi Regional Police. Columbia Gas Company. Salvation Army Disaster Services. And West Penn Power. Can we please give them all a sounding round of applause? I would now like to welcome my friend and colleague, Senator Devlin Robinson, who has been a strong advocate for Pennsylvania's first responders and a co-host of today's event. Senator Robinson, thank you so much for your partnership and leadership. Will you please join us?
Thank you, Senator Bartolotta. You have been a great friend and ally of mine for a number of years, and I appreciate all the hard work that you have put into making this day and this team possible. So I'd like to say good afternoon to all of you. Thank you all for joining us today at the Urban Search and Rescue Pennsylvania Strike Team 1 facility. It's truly an honor to be here with so many dedicated individuals and organizations who represent the very best of our community and our Commonwealth. On August 28th, a call came in that no one ever wants to receive. A trench collapse in Charleroi had left a worker, Vincenzo Lopez, trapped beneath several tons of dirt. The Charleroi Fire Department was dispatched to the incident, realizing this was going to require a large-scale coordinated effort. They called for more resources and responders from communities from around southwestern Pennsylvania, as they all answered the call, many of whom we are joined here today. And Senator Bartolotta provided that list that I won't go over again. It was a life or death situation, one that demanded precision, courage, and teamwork under extraordinary pressure. In those moments, every second counted, and our first responders did what they always do. They acted. With skill, determination, and unity, they worked tirelessly to bring Vincenzo to safety. Because of their swift and coordinated response, Vincenzo was rescued and is here with us today. That successful outcome did not happen by chance. It was the result of years of preparation, meticulous training, unwavering dedication, and a shared commitment to saving lives. I'm so proud of the rapid response of all 40 of the agencies and departments that assisted in this emergency. It was truly a collaborative effort, and we are all grateful for their teamwork and expertise. As someone who worked with Senator Costa and Representatives Miller and Mihalek to establish and support the Western Pennsylvania Urban Search and Rescue Team, Pennsylvania Strike Team 1, I'm also proud of the role they played in this rescue effort. This mission, and many others that PA Strike Team 1 has executed since its creation, demonstrates the critical role this team plays in protecting our region. Our legislation that created this team was never just about equipment or funding. It was an investment in our communities, in the safety of our neighbors, and in the ability to respond quickly and efficiently when the unthinkable happens. And on August 28th, we saw that investment in action. We saw coordination across agencies, disciplines, and jurisdictions. We saw courage under pressure. We saw the embodiment of what it means to serve. Today we gather not only to recognize a successful rescue, but to honor the people who make that success possible. The men and women who train, plan, and stand ready every single day to answer that call. Whether it's a trench collapse, a fire, a flood, or any other emergency, there they are, ready to serve. Each of you here embodies the highest ideals of public service, and you remind us of what courage looks like. On behalf of my colleagues in the Senate and the House of Representatives, and on behalf of the people of Western Pennsylvania, I want to express our deepest gratitude. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your bravery. And thank you for your unwavering commitment to keeping our communities safe. We should all be proud of your hard work and efforts. Thank you. And now, okay. And now I want to introduce my good friend, someone who's no stranger to answering the call, who's been on the Mount Lebanon Fire Department for a number of years, Representative Dan Miller.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be back here. It feels like we weren't here that long ago, and it's been a fight to get here in a lot of ways. A lot of work in order to provide the resources and the investment that is needed to try and raise the very technical skill set and equipment that are needed to do this type of work here in Western PA. I'm reminded by the city of Pittsburgh's commitment, Local 1's commitment, and all the people, the brothers and sisters who talked to and came to the Capitol to help Representative Mihalek, Senators Bartolotta, Robinson, Senator Costa, and I get the resources to start the ball moving in a sizable way. But we're not done. People in Western PA should not take it as mission accomplished. Although Vincenzo is here, which is tremendous, we have to continue to build out the capabilities. You heard, for example, we all heard the list of responding organizations who came to help. And I want to just pause for a moment, and I know we recognize the good chief. The chief who coordinated that entire effort is part-time. It's not paid. It's not paid to do that. Volunteers to do that. Look, in Western PA, we are still standing on a structure that represents so much of our pride. So much have gone into decades of people who've answered the call. But we're also standing on a shoulder of a system that is a bit antiquated, that isn't as strong and resilient as it should be. The efforts by the senators and Representative Mihalek and I were done in a way to try and start moving us into a stronger position. We have to keep doing that, and it's a partnership that needs to be done. The state must make sure that here in Western PA we have the capabilities to respond accordingly to these very technical rescue operations in particular. Localities have to be sure that they are looking to work hand in hand with their fire companies. Recognize that is not 1978 anymore. That companies that have to spend too much time fundraising are missing out on training opportunities. That's why we in particular look to enhance through this facility and others the efforts of bringing people and resources together that can trickle down from this structure, from this organization, and go to our home departments to help be sure that until greater help arises, that there is skill on the ground. There's limits to that, because no matter how skillful you may be in answering a call in the corner of a county, it doesn't mean that you're going to have enough people power to do the job or equipment to do the job. And it takes time to get there. That's why we have to be sure that we are doing things and building out these capabilities together. Look, in my personal belief, and I know we're a little bit off target here with it, we need to be investing more in our fire companies, in our departments. We need to be sure that we could have crewed engines every time. We have to be sure that when we're jumping through 40 some odd organizations, that the person who we're entrusting to make that call is appropriately supported, him or herself. That when we're shoving through 40 organizations and saying, Chief, go down there and make sure that this operation is working, that's a chief who has all the skills and supports that he or she needs as well. Were they working 3 jobs that week? What type of response do we find capable or deserving here in Western PA? Chiefs should be full-time. Chiefs should be paid in a supported wage. And we should be making sure our departments have a crew engine. That's what I know our senators and Representative Mihalek and I care about when we fight to bring resources back to Western PA. We want to be sure that we're making that every responding department has the resources they need, and that we're building out that network above that focuses on this very technical type of rescue operation and is there to provide that support no matter where you are in Western PA. We have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of people who are looking for help. The state has to be sure that it does its job, and let's be sure that we're meeting that with cooperating partnership organizations on the ground. I am very thankful to be here. I thank my friends for inviting me and for their passion of this job, and I thank every man and woman who played a role in making sure Vincenzo and everybody went home. Thank you.
Excellent. Before I introduce the next speaker, I really want to emphasize what Senator Robinson and what Representative Miller just spoke about. We have an issue with volunteer organizations in general, but volunteer firefighters. Back in the day, wasn't too long ago, Pennsylvania had about 300,000 volunteer fire personnel. Today it's around 30,000 maybe. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. People pick up the phone on their worst day and hit 911 and they expect someone to be there immediately. These folks are stretched to the limit. Brian Kokkila and I were speaking just last night, and I was saying, what can we do here? I know it's such a stretch. It's so difficult. First of all, to recruit, to retain, pay to train these folks who give of their time and answer a call not knowing what they're going to face. Secondarily, the equipment that they need to have on hand is astronomically expensive today. Millions of dollars for fire trucks. And guess what? Sometimes it's a 3 to 5 year wait to even get them. That's wrong. Next time you see a volunteer fire department trying to scramble for any kind of funding, empty your pockets, fill the boot, go to bingo, buy the hoagies. I don't care what it is they're doing. Do what you can to support your friends and neighbors and family who put on the boots, who put on the uniform and answer that call. Every time that phone rings, they show up exhausted, beyond any imagination. They answer the call. Let's answer the call for them. Do whatever you possibly can to support your volunteer organizations. Support them, have their back. They always have ours. Our next speaker is my dear friend and colleague, Representative Natalie Mihalek.
Thank you, Senator. And I just want to add, while it is very expensive to get your equipment, it is really hard to get volunteers. We've not made it easy in Pennsylvania. We've placed obstacles in the way, the educational requirements, the amount of time that you have to invest. It's really hard to make that investment, especially when you're working full time. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I think that we need to get out of the way and remove some of the barriers, because it is really difficult. I'm very thankful to be here and very thankful to have been part of this legislation. I had wonderful legislative partners behind me, but as I'm looking out into the crowd, we had some really wonderful partners from across the first responder community. It was about 3 or 4 years ago that I was first introduced to the concept of urban search and rescue. It's not something that rolled off the tip of my tongue. I wasn't familiar with it. And I realized in these last few years, being able to work with the first responder community, just what an absolute privilege it was to have been approached about this urban search and rescue legislation that we were able to get done last year. It's been a group of individuals, and I've come across them in Harrisburg prior to that. They had been out there advocating for different things for the firefighter, first responder community. And it's just been the classiest group of individuals, the most dedicated men and women that I've had the pleasure of working with. And I want to thank all of you for doing what you do every day, which isn't easy. We've made it hard. And I have a newfound respect. I did a 9/11 stair climb a few weeks ago and did the full turnout gear, and it was really hard. And some people that are much better trained, like my friend and colleague here, Representative Miller, just threw it on, got on the Stairmaster. I had to train for a month, and then I still barely made it. So I had a newfound respect for what it is that you do, because I did my 100 and some flights. I didn't have to rescue anybody after I was done. I could just get off and get my water, and I had people helping take my shoes and my jacket off and everything. So to be even minimally in that mindset and exposed to some of the conditions that you all are willing to do on a volunteer basis, I give you so much credit. I cannot thank you enough, and hopefully a small token of gratitude was through my work on the urban search and rescue legislation, which I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to not only work with many of you, but also to the colleagues behind me who helped to get it across the finish line. So thank you all for doing what you do. Thank you to Senator Bartolotta. I know this is very near and dear to her heart because of what happened in Charleroi, and I think that's just a testament to the fact that we did need this in Western Pennsylvania, and I'm so happy that we do. Thank you.
Don't need those. Thank you, Representative Mihalek. Gravity is really strong in this area. Sorry. With that, I want to transition now to someone who's really at the heart and soul of this celebration, this mission. But also, I want to say that that night, August 28th, think of a symphony. Individual instruments come together, individual, musicians get into one big group. But you know what? You need to have a leader. You need to have a maestro. And there is someone who was on the phone, giving directions, giving advice, giving all sorts of technological information during that time. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you right here at Pennsylvania's Urban Search and Rescue, Strike Team 1. The leadership coordination was incredibly vital, and I want to have everyone please join me in welcoming Task Force Leader Brian Kokkila.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much to Senators Bartolotta and Robinson, Representatives Miller and Mihalek for organizing this event. Welcome to the current home of the Western Task Force, of the Pennsylvania Urban Search and Rescue System. We are proud to host this event and celebrate a successful rescue with you all. On August 28th, the first responder community came together to complete a complex and challenging technical rescue. This event involved a very deep excavation that injured and trapped a male patient. Vincenzo is who is here with us today. Honestly, I didn't know your name until now. But throughout the event, the Urban Search and Rescue team was in direct contact with Chief Whiten of Charleroi and Director Coleman of this Washington County. We supported the efforts of the local and regional responders with technical consultation and ultimately engagement on the scene. This was a complete team effort involving all the responders agencies that are represented here today. And I think that it's very, very important to recognize that foundation really came from the leadership of Chief Whiten and the initial responders that responded to the scene in Charleroi. Without a solid foundation, you can't have a solid house. And without Bob's leadership, we wouldn't have had a successful rescue. But one of the really inherent values of our team in this effort is the trickle down impact that our members bring back to their home communities. Our urban search and rescue team members are trained in very highly complex and technical skills. These high-end skills and techniques that they are prepared to deliver provide a direct benefit back to their local community. We are very fortunate to have the full support and backing of the General Assembly, which was clearly demonstrated in the bipartisan and bicameral passage and support of the Urban Search and Rescue legislation, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Act 113. A component of Act 113 was the report developed by the Joint State Commission. This report identifies opportunities and challenges facing the Commonwealth's urban search and rescue system. We look forward to working with our partners in the General Assembly to enact legislation to ensure the entirety of the Commonwealth's urban search and rescue system is properly funded and supported. This successful response celebrated today is a prime example of the opportunity we all have to save lives in complex scenarios. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, it is my absolute honor to introduce to you our next speaker, someone who's a neighbor and right up the road. Our next speaker was at the heart of the response that night, leading with experience, with calm and courage. As chief of the Charleroi Fire Department, he coordinated the initial response and set the stage for the success that followed. Chief Whiten was unwavering in his leadership. He was cool, calm, collected, as there was literally live streaming for nearly the whole 5 hours of this elaborate and complex rescue. And never once did he waver in his strength and commitment and clarity. And with that, it is my honor to introduce Chief Robert Whiten, Jr.
Good afternoon, folks. I appreciate everybody showing today. I have nothing prepared, but I'm a talker. So first of all, before I go any further, I'd like to recognize a couple people from Charleroi that help get fund the fire department and do some things when I go to them, and we try to work with each other to get things done so that our fire department is top notch. I'd first like to introduce Greg Dorfler, our mayor. Greg, you want to stand? Okay. I'd like to introduce Kristen Hopkins. She's our council president. And I'd like to introduce Roberta, I call her Munchie, but Roberta Dorfler, she's our borough administrator. Those people there work with the borough, and we try to work things out and get the funds where they need to go. I always appreciate, I have one paid person, I have one part-time. person. It'd be nice to have a few more, but and we're all getting older, so it's tough. That night, that call, I'm going down the street, and it seemed like everybody for 6 blocks were stopping me. Hey. I said, I know. I got over there, looked down in there, I thought, oh boy, we're going to need more than good old Charleroi. So we called for our first alarm and this and that. Ron Chicatano showed up right away. Ron's well-versed in a lot of technical stuff. He came down, got us going more than what we had started. And then Director Coleman from Washington County came, and I count on these guys. I worked with them for years out at Washington County, and we got the initial stuff going. Brian told me, he said, whatever you guys did in the first hour and a half, got the situation under control until we got the USAR team, the teams from Westmoreland, Fayette County, and everything, and had it secured. I mean, it looked like a county convention down there. There was trucks, I think, for like 6 blocks. All kind of trucks at Salvation Army. I don't know, did we have 1 or 2 helicopters there? We had 1 helicopter, and someone turned around and said, hey, we got a surgeon. I said, surgeon? They said, yeah, we got everything we need. And we even had an attorney. Kim Hauser was there, and it was just so easy to direct because everybody knew their job. I had some volunteers. I was talking to Mr. Chipbridge from Peters, and some of our guys after it was over said, hey, I stood around for 5 hours and did nothing. I said, yeah, but if we needed you right then, you going back home or not being there would have delayed even more of getting Vincenzo out. So everybody understood that was a major incident. Like, I've been in it for 48 years, and I said that night, I said, I'm going to have to start calling some friends out. And you make a lot of friends over 48 years, and boy, I was calling them all out that night. And it worked out good. Not one person said, we're not coming, we're not doing this. I mean, everybody showed up, and it was, as I said on TV, it was a well-oiled machine, and probably mostly everybody never even worked together. That's the funny part about it. Other than us and the ambulance and our local police and a couple of the fire departments, but all the mutual aid had come in, we never worked together. But it just seemed like when you needed something, it was there. This fella had an idea, we used it. It was just, it's just heartwarming to know that people had our backs down here in little old Charleroi. So I just want to thank everybody, and like I said, Camera named all the departments. I want to thank every department for showing up that night, whatever you brought, whatever you did, and it was just fantastic. And like I said, our guys are still talking about it. What went on and this and that. And I even told their City of Pittsburgh guys. I said, what? They said, yeah, they're City of Pittsburgh. And I said, holy! I said, it just getting guys from everywhere, and it was tremendous. So other than that, like I said, I want to thank everybody for putting this on. Thank everybody that's here today. It was involved in that call down there, and you don't know how much I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief. I also want to recognize, is our Charleroi Police Chief here? Chad, did he come? He didn't make it? Okay, that's fine. There were 2 officers that were also there that evening, and we want to make sure that they're recognized as well. Right now, it is, the time has come for us to hear from our wonderful friend, Vincenzo Lopez, and I just want to let him know that, I asked him earlier, I said, do you have some family or anything here? And he goes, no. I said, oh yeah, you do. We're all family. We're all family. And it shows with all the efforts, with the compassion, with the attention for not just the physical and the structural, but the medical and the emotional and the spiritual. And I just want to give a huge shout out one more time before we hear from Vincenzo. Just a huge round of applause for every single one of your efforts, everything you do every day, but this had a big spotlight on it. So cheers to all of you. Thank you for what you do. And now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Vincenzo Lopez. Would you come take a mic?
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I've never had the pleasure to speak in front of this many people at once, and television perhaps. But I didn't plan anything either. I just thought you all deserved to hear it from the heart that without all of you, all of your collective efforts, I would not be here. I would not be standing here. And the sacrifices that you make every day they matter. And I'm glad I can be a representation of how much that matters and how well you can work together when you need to. Just, I owe you my future every day is because of you. And those of you that could not be here, thank you. My pilots, my first responders, the police, fire departments, and that was the first time I got to hear the whole list of everybody that came. It's truly unbelievable. You live in my heart. So thank you. Every day you learn something new and you grow from it. And I'm glad I got to hopefully teach you guys a little bit about trench recovery and how to proceed with that if it were needed in the future again. So that maybe the next guy doesn't have to get his chipped tooth fixed or wear a brace for a couple weeks. Maybe he'll go back to work the next day. So thank you. My brothers, my sisters, my neighbors, I love you. Thank you.
Vincenzo, that was wonderful. Thank you for saying those wonderful words. And that comes from all of our hearts as well. So at the moment, we will open it up for questions for anyone. And if you could stand and give your question and direct to who it is you'd like to respond. If there are any questions, raise a hand. In the back, yes.
I wanted to hear from Vincenzo just kind of what was going through your mind. How long were you stuck and what was going through your mind? How did you stay positive?
I was down there for about 5 hours, and I'm a fairly pragmatic guy, so I don't get worked up very easily. So I had that on my side, but I knew I was in good hands. I had someone by my side every minute, every second. Somebody was with me, talking to me, making sure that I knew that they were here for me. So what went through my mind was, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna live. Anything else for me? Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Mihalek talked about from 300,000 volunteers to 30,000, and there are barriers in place. Can you give specifics on what barriers are in place that you believe is causing this?
Well, some of the issues, and I'm not speaking for Representative Mihalek, but we all are very aware that there are requirements for passing certain tests, and they seem to get harder and harder all the time. It's almost as though to be an EMT or a first responder, you need to almost be ready for medical school. And those are much, much more difficult than they used to be. And it's prohibitive for some of these folks who are volunteers especially. To pay for a lot of these classes also comes right out of their pockets or right out of the first responders facility. And sometimes that's thousands. The other thing is that for a lot of our fire departments, they're required to take a test at the end of certain segments of education. In the Senate, and I think in the House, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we have recently passed some legislation that says instead of having to accumulate all of those courses and take like a final after months and months, we will allow for them to take a test at the end of each one of those segments. And that way they can move along much more quickly, much more easily, and it's not prohibitive. We need to make it more affordable and easier for people to volunteer, not harder. If you would like to add to it.
Yeah, and so there are about 160 hours of upfront requirements just to get to firefighter one. And I'm not saying we should lessen the requirements. Of course, we want the best and the brightest out there in the worst case scenarios. But we have partners like Community College of Allegheny County. I think that, what they're doing with the volunteer firefighter program, and they're allowing free education credits through some of their programming. But I think we need to find a way to incentivize people to do it. I think that there's so many good people here, and not everybody has that ability, whether it's the time or the money. So if we can find a way to make it easier, those were the barriers that I was talking about. Is just making it easier for people to want to volunteer and to be able to volunteer. Certainly not lessening the requirements.
Yeah, and just Nat is totally correct with it. When you're talking to first responders, I've never come across somebody who said, you know what I would like? Less training, right? That's not what you get. But overwhelmingly, you get the reality of how we take these training requirements and fit them into today's world. And then the cost structure, whether you're talking gear or the apparatus questions, the amount of, an interesting thing really would be to look at so many departments, compare the training to the fundraising, right? And watch how that balances out. And look, I made a comment regarding the fact that the chief is not paid. Again, that's not an uncommon scenario that's here. And I'm sure most towns would be like, I'd like to find a way to pay for the chief, especially given the responsibilities that go through him. Somewhere in there is a better way for us to retool. We said 30,000. The reality of it is it's not that high. So 30,000 is, you may find 30,000 people who are at a fire department in some way. What you're not finding is 30,000 people who are ready to crew an engine. That's a different question, right? So that's where we have a scenario here for it. Nat Mihalek's point is spot on. How can we train and help support the best firefighters to be sure everybody gets home, both physically and on the PTSI side, while also making sure that our training and support is done in a way that reflects the challenges of today.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I'd like to invite everybody, all of our first responders up for a group photo.